He lifted her high in the air, he sniffed and roared and smelled her there.
Sansa rides to the Hand's tourney in a litter with Septa Mordane and Jane Poole. The splendour takes Sansa's breath away, the knights most of all. All of the King's Guard are there in pure white cloaks and armour, except Jaime Lannister, the Kingslayer, who wears his famous gilded armour. The gigantic Sir Gregor Clegane thunders past like an avalanche. Sansa also spies young Royce and whispers to Jane that he wears bronze armour that is thousands of years old, engraved in runes that protect the wearer. Septa Mordane points out Lord Jason Mallister in an eagle-winged helmet and silver-chased indigo armour. The girls giggle at the warrior priest, Thoros of Myr, until the Septa tells them he once scaled the walls of Pike with a flaming sword. Although frightened by dark-skinned Jalabar Zoe, when Jane sees Lord Beric Dondarrion, she states he is willing to marry immediately. The procession carries on, with many knights whom Sansa does not know. To Sansa it is better than in the songs. They watch the tourney from a place of honour. Jory Cassell, in drab armour, wins 2 matches, but loses a well-fought third match to the free rider Lothar Brune, when King Robert judges Brune's lance to have been steadier and better placed. The other contestants from Winterfell do not fare as well. Sansa and Jane both scream sometimes when the riders crash together. Sansa notes that Jane often covers her eyes when a rider falls, but knows how a great lady must act, and draws the approval of Septa Mordane for her composure. The jousting goes on all day and into the evening. Sir Jaime the Kingslayer rides brilliantly, defeating Sir Barristan Selmy, who has already unhorsed 2 men 30 and 40 years younger than himself. The Hound and his immense brother, Sir Gregor Clegane, the mountain that rides, seem unstoppable. On Sir Gregor's second joust, his lance rides up and impales Sir Hugh of the Vale in the neck, killing him. Sir Hugh, in his shiny new armour, falls not 10 feet from Sansa. Jane is so disturbed that she cannot stop crying, forcing Septa Mordane to take her away to regain her composure, but she never returns. Sansa is astonished to find herself unmoved by the death, until she realises there will be no songs sung of Sir Hugh. Lord Renly Baratheon, a crowd favourite, is unhorsed so violently by the Hound that he seems to fly backwards, and the hard fall breaks a gold antler off his helm. Renly gives the broken antler to the Hound, who merely throws it into the crowd, which erupts in a riot until Lord Renly restores order. By the end of the day's jousting, only 4 contestants remain: Sir Gregor Clegane, the Hound, Sir Jaime Lannister, and Sir Loras Tyrell. Sansa is entranced with Sir Loras, who is called the Knight of Flowers, and has been giving white roses to various ladies in the crowd throughout the day. Finally, Sir Loras gives a red rose to Sansa, telling her, "No victory is half so beautiful as you." Sansa is mesmerised for a long while until she notices Lord Peter Baelish above her. He tells Sansa that she has her mother's hair, touches her cheek, and leaves. The king announces that the last 3 jousts will wait for the next day. Later, at the feast, Prince Joffrey sits next to Sansa. He has not spoken to her, and she has not dared speak to him since the fight on the King's Road. Sansa remembers thinking at first that she hated Joffrey for Lady's death, but later she rationalised it that it is not Joffrey, but Queen Cersei and Arya that are responsible. Now Joffrey is the soul of courtesy, complimenting her by saying that Sir Loras has a keen eye for beauty. Sansa asks if Sir Loras will win, but Joffrey replies that either his uncle or his Hound will defeat him, and that one day he will defeat them all. Joffrey fills up her cup with wine, which makes her look at Septa Mordane, but when Joffrey fills the Septa's cup also, Sansa thanks him. He talks to her the rest of the night, making her laugh and helping her eat new foods like snails and trout baked in clay. She can see the arm Nymeria savaged is still bothering him, but he does not complain. The king grows louder with each course. Finally, drunk as a man can be, he starts shouting at Queen Cersei, telling her, "No, you do not tell me what to do, woman. I am king here, do you understand? I rule here, and if I say that I will fight tomorrow, I will fight." Everyone stares, but no one interferes, and the queen storms off in silence. When Jaime comes to him, the king pushes him away hard, causing Jaime to fall. The king boasts that he can still knock Jaime in the dirt, and that with his warhammer nobody can stand before him. Jaime replies stiffly, "As you say, your grace." Joffrey then tells Sansa it grows late and asks if she needs an escort back. With Septa Mordane asleep at the table, Joffrey calls to the Hound to take his betrothed back to her quarters and desert Sansa. The Hound asks Sansa if she expected Joffrey to escort her back himself, and scoffs at the idea. Sansa's dreamy night has suddenly vanished. She does not like the idea of the Hound taking her back to the apartment, but cannot wake Septa Mordain. As the Hound escorts her back, Sansa cannot stand the sight of his burned face, despite insisting to herself that a true lady would not notice. She compliments the Hound's riding in the joust, giving him the knightly title Sir. He responds angrily that he is no knight and that he spits on the vows knights take. He tells her that his brother is a knight, and asks if he fulfills her naive expectations. Sansa, lost for words, can only reply that no one could withstand Sir Gregor. The Hound merely laughs that Sansa's sceptre has taught her well. She is just a pretty little bird reciting the words they taught her. When Sansa tells the Hound that he is frightening her, the scarred man only continues his story, insisting that during the tourney his brother noticed Sir Hugh's improperly fastened gorget and purposely let his lance ride up to kill Sir Hugh. The Hound then forces Sansa to look at his burned face. When she starts to cry, the Hound tells her how his brother Gregor burned his face when he was 6 for stealing a toy knight. The toy had been nothing to Gregor, who was already a 6-foot-tall squire. He had lifted Sandor bodily up and pressed his face into a brazier. 4 years later, they had anointed Sir Gregor with the 7 oils, and after he said his vows, he was called Sir Gregor. Sansa now feels sad for the Hound and is no longer afraid of him. The silence goes on for a long while, and finally she touches the Hound and assures him that his brother is no true knight. They travel the rest of the way in silence. When he has finally delivered her to the corridor outside her bedchamber, Sansa thanks him. The Hound's only reply is a warning. Keep the story about his face a secret, or he will kill her.
I demand a trial by combat.